Hi everyone, my name is Cyrus Karshenes. I am in amateur bodybuilding, and we are here in the Mecca of bodybuilding, Gold's Gym Venice, in Venice, California. Today, I'm here to shoot for Bill and Generation Iron. We're going to be going through a quad-focused leg workout. I wore some special shorts for you guys, so you can see more than anything just the activation in my target muscle, which again is the quads today. And so we'll be running through a few exercises. We'll be starting with a variation of a hack squat here, and then going into a press motion, maybe some leg extensions, and you can see if we can get some hamstrings in too. So let me start talking about the first exercise we're doing. It's on a traditional hack squat machine here, and the variation that I like to do is to basically take a normal stance, and what you'll see is rather than lean back into the machine completely, I actually like to put my shoulder blades on top of the pads and then do the rep. And the reason I do this is really a personal one. For me, isolating my quads is very important. It's an area that I like to bring up, as well as my hamstrings. So by taking the position of leaning slightly more forward, it disengages my glutes, which tend to take over for a lot of pressing and squatting exercises. So I've learned that by leaning over a little more during those movements, I can keep the tension in my quads, and that way just induce a little more growth and really isolate the muscle better. And one thing I really try and focus on during my sets is initiating the motion with my target muscle as much as possible, and keeping the tension in that muscle for the entire rep until the top, and contracting as hard as I can at the top, and then repeating it. All right. So just to highlight some of the things, once again, I came forward in the machine. That was to better isolate my quads while keeping my glutes back. Maybe you noticed the negative portion of my rep. I like to take a little more slowly than maybe most other people. And the reason that I do that is, again, to help keep the tension in my muscle. By moving too quickly, I don't want it to shift to my glutes, maybe too much to my hamstrings, my inner thigh muscles. And really the way I gauge the rate at which I go down is when I notice my legs starting to shake on the negative after the first couple of reps. Because then I know my target muscle has been engaged and has tension in it, and it's starting to fatigue. So if I feel my legs starting to shake, I know that I've maintained the tension in my quads, and that the rep is basically forcing the target muscle to do most of the work. Brief pause at the bottom of the rep, and then I try and do my best to, rather than violently explode out of the rep, to begin the motion using the muscle and starting to press with my quads, rather than, again, explode and possibly have interaction from your glutes and hamstrings and even your upper body a little bit pushing up on the machine. We've moved to the second exercise. So we're right around the corner. We're gonna do some angled leg press. Just pretty traditional stuff. The only variation I'm really gonna use is to put a pad behind basically right behind my scapula on the seat. And the reason I do that is, again, just to bring my torso forward a little bit, which in turn helps me disengage my glutes. It stretches my glutes, and hence help keep the tension more in my quads and activate my quads better. We're gonna go a little higher with the reps on this one. Go for about 15 to 20%, 3 or 4 sets here. And really the goal on this is everything we said for the last exercise on the hack squats, but we're just gonna keep continuous tension, up and down, quick squeeze at the top, come down, come up with the quads, and again, really just focus on keeping the tension entirely in our quads, not letting it shift to our hips or glutes in the bottom of the rep. And again, with the higher reps, a little more volume to get more blood into the quads and help them swell a little bit and get a little more room for growth. Maybe you also noticed the range of motion. I'm focusing more on the top half, maybe 2/3. And again, that's just so my hips stay down in the pad, and more of a step again, just to help purely isolate the quads. A lot of times you do see or hear people suggesting the full range of motion, knees to chest on the leg press, which is something I do and something you should do. However, when it comes time to isolate just my quads, it's really that last half of the range of motion where your quads are doing the majority of the work. So for this workout, that's why maybe you see the rep range being a little shorter than you might see suggested or commonly carried out. All right, guys, this is the last set here. Up another plate. We're up on 8 on each side now. This one, figure I do a relatively heavy set. We'll get under it, do about 12, 15 reps here. With this one, the goal is gonna be just a little more to get under the weight, let the weight do the work, stretch me, push against it. So not as much squeezing, contracting, pausing. However, like I said earlier, it's good to get under the weight once in a while, so might as well do that now. Let's hit it. Woo! Oh, did it. Made it to the last exercise. I used to start with leg extensions. Now I feel better finishing with them. So it's just a way to kind of cash out the muscle, fill it up. Nothing else to do but to isolate it on this machine. However, I will show you guys some techniques I use to better isolate the quad. Because believe it or not, there are ways to kind of get your glutes and hips and back involved in this. The biggest mistake I think people make on the leg extension is allowing them to come up and not hold themselves down on the machine so that their glutes raise as their feet come up like this. So my goal is to keep my self glued to the chair as I do the rep, like that, so I can keep the most isolation in just my quads. Same thing we've been doing all day. So usually when I train legs, I don't use any kinds of wraps or knee sleeves or anything like that. The reasoning is twofold. I don't have any knee problems. I don't really get much knee pain. So that's one reason. I know those help some people that kind of have some kind of issues with their knees or other parts of their legs. Also, I really feel that sometimes the wraps or the sleeves, especially if they're too tight, can take away some of the tension in your muscle. So while I don't go wildly heavy to the point where my reps are ever lower than, I'd say maybe 4 or 5, I feel I like to do something where I can support it with, my own body. That'll do it. All right, guys. So we made it through. That's the quad exercises for today. Just to recap, so we did 3 movements. We started with the half squat variation, coming over the top a little bit. 3 sets there. Then we moved into the angled leg press and did 4 there, I believe. Working our way up to 1 heavier set. And after that, right here, 3 sets on the leg extension. Again, trying to keep the isolation in the quads, burning everything out. Finishing with a drop set. Now it's time to go home and eat. So I'd like to say, I really appreciate the opportunity. I appreciate everyone who's watching for taking the time to watch this. If you have any questions, definitely forward it to Generation Iron, Bill Comstock, whoever is in charge of these videos. And if it makes it back to me, I'll be happy to get it back to you with whatever kind of inquiries you guys have. So coming out of Venice, it's Cyrus Karshenes. I'll be seeing you guys again soon. Thank you.